Hello friends, welcome back to Konnur online classes. Okay, in the previous chapter of life process, we have studied about nutrition in plants as well as in animals. Now next, let us proceed to the next life process, that is respiration. Students, when I use the word respiration, what comes to your mind? The only thing that comes to our mind is inhaling and exhaling. Okay, till lower classes this concept of respiration is accepted. But when you go on higher classes, you need to know the difference between respiration has two parts in it. One is the gaseous exchange and another is cellular respiration. Okay, confused? Okay, let us make it much clear. Now, intake of gases and exhaling of gases is a process, one of the process involved in respiration, and that process we call it as a breathing. Please keep in mind that process is called as a breathing. Breathing is nothing but inhaling of oxygen and exhaling of carbon dioxide. So here gaseous exchange takes place, so we term as respiration includes one process, that is gaseous exchange, where we intake oxygen which is present in the atmosphere and we release carbon dioxide. So this process is called as a breathing. Now the next one is the cellular respiration. Now when we inhale oxygen, now this oxygen is utilized to break down the simple food in order to release energy inside the cell. So this process takes place inside the cell by a process called cellular respiration. I hope this is clear to you. The oxygen what we inhale is utilized to break down the food so that it releases energy in a cell. That is why it is termed as cellular respiration. On the whole, you can say that food utilizes oxygen to break down and convert it into energy, giving out carbon dioxide and water. So, in just you can say that respiration is nothing but the process of releasing energy from food. Okay. Now there are types of respiration, children. Do you think all organisms take in oxygen and give out carbon dioxide? No, this is not possible. There are some organisms who do not require oxygen for respiration. So we have categorized respiration into aerobic respiration and anaerobic respiration. Now let us see the difference between what is aerobic respiration and anaerobic respiration. In aerobic respiration, the organisms can respire in the presence of oxygen, or in other words you can say that it takes place, aerobic respiration takes place in presence of oxygen, whereas anaerobic respiration does not require oxygen. So you can say that anaerobic respiration takes place in absence of oxygen. Now, as I said you, for the respiration, it produces energy. For the energy to be produced, cell is required. Now, in which part of the cell does this aerobic and anaerobic respiration takes place? Aerobic respiration takes place in cytoplasm and mitochondria. See, please note this difference. Aerobic respiration takes place in cytoplasm and mitochondria, whereas anaerobic respiration occurs only in cytoplasm. Now when the reaction takes place, every reaction is having end products. So in aerobic respiration, end products are carbon dioxide and water, whereas in anaerobic respiration, end products are alcohol or lactic acid. Along with these, energy is produced in both the cases. But there is a difference of level of energy produced in aerobic respiration and anaerobic respiration. In aerobic respiration, more amount of energy is released, whereas in anaerobic respiration, less amount of energy is released. Now the next question may come, why is it so that more amount of energy is released in aerobic respiration, whereas in anaerobic respiration, less amount of energy is released? Now we know that energy is released because of glucose. If you see the formula of glucose, it is consisting of 6 carbon. So C6H12O6. So this 6 carbon compound which is present, it completely breaks down. The 6 carbon compounds completely break down to give carbon dioxide. Whereas in anaerobic respiration, these 6 C carbon compounds break down to give 2 carbon compounds, you can say, of ethanol and 3 carbon compounds of lactic acids. That is why the amount of energy released in aerobic respiration is more, because complete breakdown of glucose takes place, whereas in anaerobic respiration, incomplete breakdown of glucose takes place. Now, the amount of energy produced from one glucose molecule, here I am putting it at one glucose of molecule, it produces 38 ATP of energy is produced, that is large amount, more amount. Whereas in anaerobic respiration, only 2 ATP of energy is produced. Now let us study the next concept of glycolysis. Now what is glycolysis? The word glyco refers to glucose and lysis refers to breakdown. Here there is breaking down of glucose. Now in that breakdown of glucose by various pathways in the sense, when in presence of oxygen, what end products are produced by breakdown of glucose, and in absence of oxygen, what end products are produced by the breakdown. Let us study. So before that, let us know that one molecule of glucose, that is C6H12O6, in this 6 carbon is broken down into pyruvate. Pyruvate is nothing but 3 molecules of carbon. Along with energy is produced along with end products. And this breakdown takes place in cytoplasm. So breakdown of glucose by various pathways. As I said you, glucose breaks down. Glucose, which is a 6 carbon molecule, it breaks down in the cytoplasm to form pyruvate, which is 3 carbon molecule. Now what are the end products that are formed when this glucose is broken down in absence of oxygen? When this glucose is broken down in absence of oxygen, here the example we have taken is yeast. So in this reaction, the end products are ethanol, which is a 2 carbon molecule, carbon dioxide, along with it energy is released. So this is the first one. The next, what happens when the 6 carbon compound breaks down into pyruvate, 3 molecule carbon, in lack of oxygen in human muscle cells? Children, remember, as we are working, continuously oxygen is supplied to our body. But in athletes, when they run for a longer distance, or where they work out, or exercise is done for a longer moment of time, sometimes the oxygen supply to muscles becomes less. That is what we call as lack of oxygen. At this time, what happens? A feeling of cramp comes in the legs or hands or in the muscles. That we call it as cramps in the muscles. These cramps in the muscles takes place because of the formation of a lactic acid. Please make a point that when there is lack of oxygen, when a person does lot of exercise, when there is less supply of oxygen to the muscles, the formation of lactic acid takes place, and this results into cramps, and along with it energy is also given out. Now what happens in the presence of oxygen in mitochondria? It produces carbon dioxide, water, plus large amount of energy is produced, and this energy is used in the form of ATP. Once again, in a gist, breakdown of glucose by various pathways, the 6 carbon is broken down into 3 carbon molecule, which is a pyruvate, and this breaking down process takes place in cytoplasm. In the absence of oxygen, that is yeast, the end products are ethanol, carbon dioxide and energy. When there is lack of oxygen in human cells, lactic acid and energy is formed. In presence of oxygen in mitochondria, carbon dioxide, water and energy is formed. Remember children, this is very important question from examination point of view. We have continuously been using the word ATP. Now what is this ATP? ATP expansion I can say you, it is adenosine triphosphate. Now, you have mobiles, right? You cannot always plug your mobiles to switch for the supply of electricity so that your mobile works. So what is present in that? Cell is present, which stores the energy. That is why you are able to take your mobile wherever you want, because the energy is stored in the cell in the form of electric energy. In the same way, our body also requires energy, and that energy is also stored. And the energy that is stored inside the animal body is in the form of ATP. So the expansion, as I said you, is adenosine triphosphate. That is why we call it as energy currency. Currency word, as we have said, refers to money, right? In mobile, it is refers to recharging of mobile, right? So here it is, currency is not in the form of money. Here the currency refers to energy. Now this energy is stored in the form of ATP, and this energy is released during, now where did this energy come from? So now the next question occurs, where did this energy come from? This energy was released during the process of respiration. Just few minutes back I said you, in mitochondria the carbon breaks down into pyruvate, and in presence of oxygen it releases carbon dioxide, water and energy. Now this energy what is released is stored in the form of ATP in the body, in cell, and is used when it is required. So this energy you are getting from the food. It is, and ATP is a high energy content. Now one more word which we come across is ADP. Here adenosine triphosphate. Here 3 phosphate are present, and here adenosine diphosphate. This adenosine diphosphate is a low energy content, and it is an inorganic phosphate, and it is a substance present inside the cell. Now how ATP is produced in the cell, right? Energy which is released during respiration is used to make this ATP. Energy released during respiration is used to make this ATP from ADP in an inorganic phosphate. Just look at this equation, children. Using this ADP, that is adenosine triphosphate, and a phosphate group along with energy that is released during respiration, it prepares a molecule of adenosine triphosphate which is stored. Now when a cell requires energy, this ATP is broken down. That is, breaking of this ATP again releases energy, and this energy is utilized by the cell. So this ATP can be broken down using water. So here you can see in this equation is reverse of this equation. To form ATP, ADP combines with phosphate along with energy, which is a low energy compound, to give high energy. When this ATP has to give energy, this has to be broken down. So this can be broken down using water. So in this equation it gets clear, ATP is broken down to form ADP and phosphate to give lot of energy. So approximately 30.5 kilojoules per mole energy is released during the process. That is why ATP is called as energy currency. Because whenever energy is required, this ATP breaks down to form ADP and phosphate along with a lot of energy. As we know that Earth is full of diverse flora and fauna, that is, diversity of organisms and plants are present. Do you think all organisms use the same way of respiration? No, children, all organisms do not use the same way of respiration. Here, as I said you, there are two parts in respiration. One is gaseous exchange and another is cellular respiration. As we have discussed earlier about cellular respiration is nothing but formation of energy using the oxygen which is inhaled, right? So the process of respiration goes on differing from one organism to another organism. So here are the two ways by which exchange of gases takes place. One is by the process of diffusion. What is diffusion, children? Diffusion is nothing but in simple definition you say movement of molecules from higher concentration to lower concentration, right? So the exchange of gases in, you can say, in unicellular organisms or in lower organisms. The exchange of gases takes place by the process of diffusion. As I can take you a simple example of amoeba. Amoeba is not having any particular organ for respiration. It exchanges the gases using the process of diffusion. And as you go to the higher organism refers to animals, birds, reptiles, okay, we human beings. We are having a respiratory system. We are having particular organs to carry out the process of respiration. So the gases exchange takes place by the process of diffusion, which you find it in unicellular and lower organisms, and in higher organisms in respiratory systems. Now again, when we say respiratory system, do you think all organisms are having the same way of respiration? No, children. Again, it is divided into terrestrial habitat and aquatic habitat. So the higher organisms which are present in terrestrial habitat, they are having particular organs and they can utilize the oxygen which is present in the atmosphere. What about the organisms which are staying inside the water, which you call it as aquatic organisms? Do you think they are having the same respiratory system as what terrestrial habitat have? No, they are having a different respiratory system or different method of respiring compared to the terrestrial habitat. Now let us study about what is the type of respiration that takes place in terrestrial habitat and in aquatic habitat. So let us start with respiration in plants. So let us go to one question first. Usually we say plants take in carbon dioxide and give out oxygen, right? So everybody is familiar with this thing. So do you think plants take in carbon dioxide for respiration and give out for oxygen during respiration? No, children. This is a wrong concept. Remember, plants take in carbon dioxide and give out oxygen in the process of photosynthesis. In these many years of experience, I have seen that most of the students say that yeah, they take in carbon dioxide and give out oxygen. Yes, they take in carbon dioxide and give out oxygen, but in the process of photosynthesis. What is photosynthesis? Photosynthesis is nothing but preparing food. During the preparation of food, they are taking in carbon dioxide and giving out oxygen. But apart from the process of photosynthesis, plants also carry out respiration. And during this process, they take in oxygen and give out carbon dioxide. Please note this point, children. Plants, during the process of photosynthesis, they take in carbon dioxide and give out oxygen. But during the process of respiration, like us, they take in oxygen and give out carbon dioxide, and this carbon dioxide is used for the process of photosynthesis. That is why there is a saying that do not sleep under the tree during night time. Why? Why is it said that way? It is said so because during night time, the process of photosynthesis does not take place. It does not release oxygen. But respiration takes place. It releases carbon dioxide unlike us. Okay? So keep in mind that during the process of respiration, plants also take in oxygen and give out carbon dioxide. And in photosynthesis, they take in carbon dioxide and give out oxygen. So this is an important point. Now, from where does this oxygen enter? As in the previous class I have told you, there are tiny structures present underneath the leaf, which you call it as a stomata, and it is through these openings or pores the exchange of gases takes place. Now we are having particular organs, but plants respire by the process of diffusion. Higher molecules move towards the lower molecules, concentration of molecules. Now, respiration in plants, it takes place at different places via different structures. All are consisting of tiny pores. So, respiration in plants takes place by stomata, it takes place by lenticles, it takes place by root hairs. Now, as I said you, stomata are nothing but they are the openings, tiny pores through which gaseous exchange take place. Now, lenticles are nothing but they are also tiny pores. They are present at the woody stem, at this part. They are present at the woody stem part, and root hairs, which are young. These are also consisting of tiny pores through which the gaseous exchange takes place, and the process by which the gaseous exchange takes place is a diffusion. So as I said you, stomata is an pore through which is present in the leaves and in the green stem. Here also they take in oxygen and give out carbon dioxide. So as I said you, during the night time the process of photosynthesis is not carried out, only the process of respiration is carried out. So they take in oxygen and give out carbon dioxide during the process. And both processes during the daytime take place simultaneously. That is the process of photosynthesis as well as the process of respiration. Now let us see the way of respiration in aquatic animals. Remember children, the rate of breathing of aquatic animals is much faster than the terrestrial animals. Why? Because they use the dissolved oxygen. The oxygen which is present in water, which is dissolved in water. Since they use the dissolved oxygen which is present in water, the rate of breathing of aquatic animals is much faster than terrestrial animals. Now let us take an example like how the breathing takes place in aquatic organisms. The best example that we can ever take is fish, which carries out branchial respiration. You might have seen the fishes in the aquarium, children. If you look at the fish in the aquarium, let's draw a rough copy of diagram of that. Not much in detail. You might have seen the fish always opening its mouth. You might have seen always it opens its mouth and closes its mouth. Opens its mouth and closes its mouth. When it opens its mouth, the water enters into the mouth. The water enters into the mouth. Now this water which is entering into the mouth, it is carrying oxygen. It is carrying oxygen. In fishes you might have seen a structure like this, a cut like this. Right? This cut we usually call them as gills. And this gills is the respiratory part in a fish, or you can say the respiratory organ in a fish. Now if you zoom this part of gills, you can see a cut opening structure like this, which we call it as a operculum. Now when this water which is carrying oxygen enters into the mouth, right? Now it enters into the mouth. This water, it cannot go into the stomach all the time because the fish is already in this water, right? So the water which goes inside the mouth comes out through this opening. What you can see here, the openings, these openings. When the water comes out through this opening, the oxygen which is present here, the oxygen which is present in this water is absorbed by the blood cells. It is absorbed by the blood. And as I said you, during the process of respiration, oxygen is taken in and carbon dioxide is given out. So oxygen is taken into the bloodstream and carbon dioxide along with water is given out. So this is how the breathing or respiration in fish takes place. Once more a review of it. The water which is consisting of oxygen enters into the mouth of the fish. Okay. Then it is having a structure called gills. There the oxygen is diffused, or the oxygen gets diffused into the blood stream and carbon dioxide is given out. So the water which is coming out of the gills, it is consisting of carbon dioxide and water. So this is how the respiration in aquatic animals take place. So this is one about aquatic animals. One more example you can say of cutaneous respiration. The next one is cutaneous respiration. The example that we can take here is earthworm. You can never see the earthworm on the ground or inside the water. You will see it below the soil. Then how does it respire when it is below the soil? The respiration in earthworm takes place by its skin. That is why it is termed as a cutaneous respiration. Now moving towards respiration in humans, right? Now respiration in humans is also termed as pulmonary respiration. Now why is it called pulmonary respiration? Because it involves the lungs. Now we are having a mechanism of breathing. As I said you, breathing and respiration are two different points. Now first let us study about the mechanism of breathing. Mechanism of breathing involves inhaling and exhaling, right? Inhaling is nothing but taking in and exhaling is nothing but giving out. What you call it as inhaling, other words inhalation, and exhaling, other word you can say it as exhalation. Now in inhalation, thoracic cavity. Now you can ask me what is thoracic cavity, the chest region. If you look at the human respiratory system, children, right? Just a rough diagram. So, the respiratory system in human consists of nose, through which the air enters. Then you have the trachea and bronchi, and these are lungs. Now these are protected by an outer cage, what we call it as a rib cage. You can feel the bones, these bones which are present in your chest region. These are called as ribs, which form the skeletal part of the body. These are called as ribs. So this cavity is called as a thoracic cavity or the chest region. So when we we inhale oxygen. So when we are inhaling, that is, we are taking in oxygen. So when we are taking in oxygen, the chest cavity, it expands. It becomes bigger because air is entering into the lungs. When we exhale, we are exhaling carbon dioxide. So the air from the chest or lungs is coming out. That is why it contracts. So in inhalation it expands, right? And in exhalation it contracts. Now during inhalation, because air is getting filled into the lungs, the ribs come out. That is, they lift up. And when we are exhaling, the air is removed out from the lungs. so it moves down. So you can see this movement. Even you can feel the movements when you place your palm on the chest region. You can feel the up movement and down movement, right? Now, diaphragm. Now, what is this diaphragm? Below this thoracic cavity, there is a muscular structure. There is a muscular structure. This muscular structure is called as a diaphragm. So, when you are taking in oxygen, so because of expansion of the chest, it becomes flat. It becomes flat. When you are exhaling, the air is coming out. It becomes a dome shaped. Now, when you are inhaling, the volume of lungs increases because air is entering into the lungs. And in exhalation, the volume of lung decreases because the air is removed out from the lungs. So, this is about inhalation and exhalation. Now, let us study about respiration in humans. How is the respiration carried out in human beings? Now, you can see in this structure, this is a human figure which consists of the nose, the nasal passage, there are a pair of lungs and some ring-like structures or tubes. Now, let us study what they are. Children, the nose consists of two small openings, right? They are called as nostrils. This part, it is called as nostrils. So, we are having a pair of nostrils through which the air enters. So, since we are inhaling oxygen, so the oxygen enters through these nostrils. Then it goes to the pharynx and larynx. So, it is called as nasal passage. So, it is the area between the mouth and the before trachea. It consists of the nasal passage which is consisting of pharynx and larynx. Then there is a tube-like structure, right? This tube-like structure is called as trachea. You can see it is not plain, children. It is having these curves inside it. These curves are meant so that the air does not collapse. So that the air does not collapse, it is having this ring-like structure. Then this trachea has branched into two, which we call it as bronchi. And these two bronchi move towards left lung and the right lung. And again it is further branched into small tubes, which you call it as bronchioles. And these bronchioles end up into a balloon-like structure, which you call it as alveoli. And there is, as I have said in the previous diagram, there is a muscular structure called diaphragm. Now let us study how the respiration takes place in human beings. Children, when you are able to write this thing, you are able to write whole process of respiration in humans. Just you need to by heart these things like nose, nasal passage, trachea, bronchi, bronchioles and alveolar. Now let us start. As I said you, respiration involves breathing. Breathing is nothing but inhaling and exhaling. Now, as I said you, through the nostrils, in the nose. If you look at the nose, there are small openings which you call it as nostrils. And in the nose, there are several tiny hairs which act as filters. Along with hairs, there is a sticky substance which is present in nose, which we call it as mucus. So you can experience this mucus when you are having cold and cough. Usually mucus is also present, which helps in filtering of air. Any dust particle which we inhale are caught up by this mucus and tiny hair. Now this oxygen enters through nostrils, it is filtered here, then it goes to the other part, that is nasal passage, which includes pharynx and larynx. Now this air passes through this pharynx and larynx and comes to trachea. As I said, trachea is nothing but a cartilage, a ring-like structure, a tube with a ring-like structure. This structure is meant so that the air does not collapse. Now this oxygenated air passes through two branches into the right and left lungs, right? And these branch-like structures are called as bronchi. Now this bronchi end up into small branches. You can see I have colored them, so easily it is distinguishable. So they end up, this bronchi ends up into small branches called bronchioles. So they are still carrying in oxygenated air. Now this is the main site for exchange of gases, that is alveoli. Now what are these alveoli? As I said you, alveoli are nothing but balloon-like structures. So this is just one alveoli which I have taken in, right? So alveoli are balloon-like structures which are attached with many small blood capillaries. Now what are these blood capillaries? Blood capillaries are nothing but tiny blood vessels through which blood comes to the lungs. Through which blood comes to the lungs. Right? This is just the blood capillaries I am showing you, children, which are attached to this alveoli. Right? So blood from the body comes to lungs. Right? Now these lungs, when the oxygen enters from nose to nasal passage, trachea, bronchi, bronchioles and alveoli. When this oxygen comes to this alveoli, right, here, which is blood, this oxygen diffuses into the blood. Are you getting my point? This oxygen diffuses into this blood. So this blood is again transported to heart. So this is the process of inhalation. Now this is about how oxygen, what we take in, goes to the lungs. From lungs, the part which is alveoli, it transports this oxygen to the blood. Now what about exhalation? From where does this carbon dioxide come? When this blood is coming, it carries that is carbon dioxide along with it. It carries a carbon dioxide along with it. So it takes in oxygen and give out carbon dioxide. So inhalation, we are taking in oxygen, carbon dioxide. This carbon dioxide goes in a reverse process. From alveoli it goes to bronchioles, from bronchi, trachea, nasal passage, and from nose it is given out in the form of exhalation. Very simple process. The main important point is the oxygen which is carried by the whole nasal passage, it comes to alveoli. Alveoli is consisting of several blood capillaries through which the oxygen is diffused into the blood, and this blood which is carrying the deoxygenated blood, what we call it as carbon dioxide, it is given out. Oxygen is taken, carbon dioxide is given out, and in the same process this carbon out is given out from the nose by the process called exhalation. So this is all about respiration in humans.